Joined now by three-time major champion Padraig Harrington. Padraig, what a wild final round of the Masters for us. Watching it, it was a just complete roller coaster. Curious, through your lens as a player, what did you see from Rory McIlroy at Augusta National?
Yeah, I think as regards the roller coaster and the drama, Rory's probably not used to being a defensive player. All his mistakes seem to come when he was trying to protect his lead. Normally, when he wins tournaments, he kind of runs away from the field because he feels comfortable. It's not such a big issue to him or a big deal. He's won so many of them. But obviously the Masters meant an awful lot to him. And, he decided to get defensive on 13, both the tee shot, second shot, and then tried to hit in the middle of the green. And like every amateur, every pro would tell you, I was aiming at the middle of the green and the last thought was over at the flag and don't pull it left. And he's hit it in the wall. It was a shock to everybody, but we know this happens to mere mortals when they're leading tournaments. It was interesting to see it happen to Rory at that moment in time. He backed it up with great shots, and I think ultimately Rory was going to be at the winning score no matter what happened that day. It's just the nature of it. If he had to hit a great shot, he did, and because it meant so much to him, the defensive play can sometimes be the hardest thing in golf.
Padraig, thinking back to 2007 when you won your first of three majors, that Open, it came in a playoff versus Sergio Garcia. There's not many people in the world you can ask the question of what's going through your mind, the gravity in that type of moment. You in that chasing that first major, Rory trying to complete the career slam in a playoff. What's the mindset? What was Rory thinking? What were the emotions he was going through to try and punctuate this thing?
I don't know with Rory. I know personally, I don't want to be happy to be in a playoff. I think that's a silly thing. I see a lot of people turn up in a playoff and they're happy to be there. And I'm going, no, I want to win. This isn't about me turning up and being happy. I think another thing for me, when it was the playoff, I cultivated between. I had to watch Sergio play the last hole, so kind of the opposite. I'd be more in Justin Rose's shoes. I'm watching somebody play the last hole. Sergio needed to miss a putt. I watched him hit the putt, but I wasn't sitting there thinking miss, even though I needed him to miss. And when he did miss, I didn't get a big high out of it. I didn't get there was no highs and lows for me. I walked to that first tee playoff in a very determined, calm place. I had no big adrenaline rush because I got into the playoff. I think that's one of those things. You've got to be very resolute and very stern. I do think the playoff, as regards Rory, the fact that Justin went first and hit the fairway, that's huge. Like the odds are massive in Justin's favor once he does that, because if you miss the fairway left or right in 18, it's nearly a guaranteed bogey. So there was a lot of pressure on Rory with that tee shot, and if anything's changed in Rory's game, I think over the last year, and people are saying his wedge play, but he was the #1 wedge player on the PGA Tour in 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021, something like that. I remember McGinley quote, #1 wedge player, as in #1, better than all the short hitters. Rory McIlroy led that proximity. So it's not about his wedge play. It was about that drive he hit off 18. He couldn't do that off the 18th hole in Pinehurst. He didn't have that fade that was required down the 18th. A lot of times last year when he went for his fade, he hit a pull draw, whereas around the race to Dubai finals out in Dubai at the end of the year, he started hitting a very, very powerful, low controlled fade up that 18th in particular out there in Dubai, and he then used it again on the 18th, which is huge for him, because Rory's, if he has any struggles, it's the likes of the second hole where there's danger left. He's tending to protect the left hand side of the golf course, but now with that low fade, he's a very dangerous player going forward. Not that he wasn't a complete article before, but he's certainly adding to his arsenal with that shot off the 18th tee.
Padraig, you two are forever intertwined with your '07 Open win at Carnoustie. Rory, the low am that week. You go on that tear the next year, winning back-to-back majors to finish up 2008. First European to win back-to-back majors in the same season, something Rory then does 6 years later. To see his arc to now complete the career Grand Slam with 5 majors. Since those 18 years have gone on with Father Time, when you guys were tied together at that 2007 Open, what's it been like to see his journey?
Yeah, look, Rory's clearly been the #1 player in golf for the last 14, 15 years. You know, other players have come and gone and become the world number one, but over the whole stretch of time, Rory has always been up there. You know, you know, his game has been exemplary. He really should have got more majors, but he won so many tournaments. It wasn't like he wasn't winning Order of Merits and tournaments. And so it was kind of circumstantial that he didn't maybe get a couple of majors in that time. The Masters was different and always was different. You know, he's carrying a lot of baggage since 2011. He wants it so much. Like, if you watched him in the final 18 holes there, like, we've never seen Rory as emotional about his shots, talking about his shots when the ball was in the air, talking after it, you know, bending down, putting his head in his hands all the way through the final round. That's how emotional, how much it meant to him. The Masters was a distinctly different to every other tournament for Rory. Now he's over that. You know, he asked in his press conference, what are we going to talk about next year? Well, we're going to talk about this year, whether he can make the yearly Grand Slam. We're going to talk about whether he can beat Nick Faldo's record of 6 majors. We're going to talk whether he can get to 10 majors. And guess what? We're going to talk about whether he can get to 15 majors. And then we're going to talk about whether he can get to 18 majors. And the beauty for Rory is his game is future-proofed. He's not a guy who gets injured. He's extremely powerful. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All these kids coming out of college who hit it miles, it doesn't matter to Rory. He is already the longest. Nobody's going to have an advantage over him. They might ease into Rory's advantage, but his game is future-proof. So the only thing Rory has to mind for the next, 10 years anyway of good playing golf is that he doesn't get burnt out. That, mentally, he still wants it. And another good thing for Rory puts a lot of effort into the gym as a way of practicing his golf. It's not his gym time is a way of him improving and getting better, and he likes the gym, and that takes away from him having to hit as many balls. He stays nice and healthy because of it. So yeah, I envisage Rory going on for a good few years. He made that comment a few weeks ago about not playing the Champions Tour, and that was a protectionist thing because Rory's already been playing golf close, pretty competitively for 35 years or so, since he's, say, 10 anyway. So, if you told him he has to keep playing for another 20 years, that would burn him out right now on the spot. So when he was kind of saying, I don't see myself playing in 15 years' time, well, the reality is that 15 years will come quick, but it also is a protectionist mechanism to say, hang on a second, this isn't going to last forever. I have an out, but the out will never come because Rory loves his golf. He's a bit of a golf nerd, Rory. So he's never going to give it up. He's going to keep playing. But in his head, he has to say there is an end. But that end could be, as I said, we could start talking about 10, 15 majors. Crazy stuff now that he's got the last of the Grand Slam, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Padraig, I was going to ask you about what does this unlock for Rory, but you kind of touched upon it. The opportunity, limitless for the superstar after unlocking this win down there in Augusta and completing that slam. So I guess I'd pivot to what was leading up to this. So much of the conversation about the mindset going into the Masters, especially for somebody like Rory, was so much on the line. You were able to visit with him. You shared a meal a few weeks before the Masters. Did you pick up on anything that he was in a great headspace entering this thing?
Unfortunately, I talk to Rory over the years, and I tell him what I'm thinking. And sometimes I can be a bit honest about the game and get in people's heads when I don't want to. I found Rory incredibly relaxed this year. He's had his couple of wins, but when we were there in Houston, we were messing around a bit in the range, doing a bit of speed work as you would expect, and then we went out for dinner. I found him very comfortable in his own skin. Now, there's reasons for that. Rory is as good a player as he is. Over the last 4 years, he was scrambling at the start of the year for what his preparation was going to be. Should I play more events? Should I play less? This year, he was very comfortable with his preparation. And he was also comfortable with he was the best player. Now, the reality is Xander and Scotty both got injured this year. They both haven't had their game this year. So Rory wasn't looking over his shoulder anywhere near as much. He wasn't going in there worried about the opposition as much as, back when Jordan was there or DJ playing the best, Rory was concerned about other people. This time round, he was very comfortable with himself and what he's doing. He couldn't have been in a better place going into the event, but it was the Masters. And there's more to it than just, if ideally, if he can find that headspace going into every event, it doesn't mean he'll win them, but it would certainly give him more chances of winning. And the more chances you have, the more you get the right breaks at the right time.
Padraig, what does this win mean to golf fans back in Ireland, and where does Rory now stack up in the eyes of European golf fans with his career resume?
I think Rory's the biggest draw in golf at the moment, the biggest name in golf, the biggest brand in golf. He needed this win to back that branding up, you know, and I think at times, you know, players would be jealous of Rory's success off the golf course, his financial success, his power in the game of golf. Him winning the Grand Slam backs it up. It says it demands, he demands that kudos now for where he is in the brand of golf. And to be honest, he's jumped outside of golf and outside of Ireland. Like, you know, he was always a big deal in Ireland, and it is a huge deal that he won in Ireland. But it's a huge deal for the sport. It's a huge deal for golf in general. Like, everybody tuned in. It was a fantastic Masters to watch. The drama, the excitement. I think it did the world of good for golf. And I think it transcended golf in itself. And you only have to look at the kind of tweets and where they're coming from, the different types of people in the world of sport and outside of sport who are congratulating Rory. It's a big step to get outside of your country, and then it's a huge step to get outside of your sport. And Rory, his brand had been doing that, but now he's backed it up with a Grand Slam. Nobody can second guess that he is at the absolute pinnacle of the global brand of golf.
I said yesterday there were two big winners, Rory McIlroy and the game of golf. Padraig, always awesome to be able to spend some time with you, the three-time major champ, here on Golf Today.
I you know, it'd be amiss of me not to comment. You know, because we were going on it. I can't believe how much Bryson changed his game plan, not his game plan, but his style of play, his personality for that last round. If you know, when he won it, you know, clearly he doesn't like the label of being a bomb and gouge player, and he tried to play smart and strategy. Would Bryson, with a one-shot lead, have hit an iron off the tee at Pinehurst last year on the third hole? Not a chance. He would have gone driver, tried to drive the green, and it could have changed the whole face of everything. Like, it's startling how much. Yeah, I know he didn't have his A game or whatever, but his driving was still pretty good. It was startling how much Bryson has been affected by his criticisms, you know, and look, the commentary just kept criticizing Bryson for the style of play, but Bryson's style of play is what got him two majors already. Yeah. And he broke away from it purely based on the external pressures for him to be a more ordered, nice golfer. You know, would Bryson at Pinehurst last year hit 3-wood off the first tee? Like, he should have stood up there, bashed it over that bunker like Rory tried to do. And if he hits it over the bunker and Rory hasn't, you know, he could strut down there. The same on number 3. If he drove it on the green on number 3, he's strutting down there. And we'll never know what the psychological effect each player has on each other during a round of golf. You know, because it's hypothetical. But for me, that was a massive change of personality. And we know golfers have got to stick to who they are. They don't do very well. If you're a hot-headed guy, you don't do well being calm. And if you're a calm guy, you don't do well, you know, losing your temper. You've got to stick to your golfing personality. And certainly, I think the external pressures on Bryson to be something he isn't. And we got it very much in the commentary. Was different commentary over here, but, like, you know, they were laying into him thick and fast because of his style of play. But that's who he is. It's got him 2 majors, and it will get him many more majors. You've got to be true to yourself, and I don't think, you know, I don't think Bryson was.
Interesting. Wise words, and
very interesting.
One of the best minds in the game here, Padraig Harrington. Appreciate the insights.
You're welcome, guys.